Welcome back to Runiverse. I'm Andrew, and in this video, I'm going to be playing Keyforge, picking two of these decks at random, kind of. In my previous Keyforge video, I had 8 decks, and I randomly selected an Age of Ascension and Worlds Collide deck to battle against each other. So for variety's sake, I'm going to have a Mass Mutation and a Dark Tidings deck face off. So let's just skip these, save those for later. We'll number these 1 through 4, roll the d4. I got a 4, so it'll be Dark Tidings. And now it is just going to be a 50-50 on a Mass Mutation deck. 1, 2, or 3, or 4. That'll be this one. I mean, who knows what's inside anyway. But we will in just a second. So let's open up this Dark Tidings deck. A different type of package from the previous 4 sets. I've actually never opened one of these before. I haven't played any Dark Tidings. This is new for me. I haven't played Dark Tidings. I haven't played with the house, but we got the house. So Idlechain, who serves currents. We have Logos, Sanctum, and this house, which I definitely knew before I started recording, but now it's blank. Oh, here we go. Unfathomable. So you can take a look at the deck list there. See how much will fit. Got a couple enhanced cards. Pretty good number of rares, but I don't see anything crazy. I'm not going to go over the whole deck, but feel free to use the link in the description to check out the deck list with all the pictures on the official Keyforge site. Although as I speak, as I'm recording, which is probably about a week before this video actually goes up, Keyforge is on GameFound raising money for their next set. And as I mentioned in a previous video, or the previous Keyforge video I did, that is from a different company than who did Keyforge before. And so they'll be migrating the website. So as I record, the website is Fantasy Flight Games website, but as you watch this, could have been transferred to Ghost Galaxy. So here's one of our enhanced cards from Unfathomable, upgraded with a draw. Hazardous 4. If I recall, Hazardous means if this is attacked, it deals 4 damage before the fight even starts. If it's destroyed when the tide is high, archive it. Could be pretty strong. Got a Seraphic Armor as one of our rares for Sanctum. Gives an Amber +1 armor to the creature, and it fully heals the creature. And maybe grab a look at one Sanctum card, or sorry, Logos card. Actually, let's just look at this one. This is probably one of my favorite cards. You can play a non-Logos card this turn. Classic. So the rest we'll just see as they come up. Let's take a look at our Mass Mutation deck. And you got the Transformative Mutant with this Logos and Saurian. You know, to be honest, I feel bad, but I'm actually not a big Saurian fan. I think I tried to like them. They're dinosaurs and all. I like their symbol as well. Little shell icon. Transformative Mutant. But yeah, the thing about the Saurians is they're just kind of derpy humanoid ancient Rome dinosaurs. Oh, but we got a Deusilius. Okay, now I can't complain. Let's get this guy on the camera. That's pretty sweet. I take everything back, Saurian. I'm so sorry. This is what dinosaurs are supposed to look like. 20 power. Capture all your opponent's amber. Deal 5 to an enemy creature. And fight, remove an amber from Deusilius to the common supply. Deal 2 damage to each enemy creature. Very cool. So yeah, that is one of the features of this set, which I think there were 3 or maybe 4 double card creatures. So I actually have the Logos one in a different deck. I'm very happy to now have Deusilius for Saurian. See, is there anything else exciting in here? Just 3 upgraded cards. And then this gigantic dinosaur. I don't know the cards well enough to draw attention to anything in particular, so let's just get these sleeved up and start playing. We're all sleeved up. Before I finish shuffling, I did want to do one more thing. I picked up these foil sleeves for another one of my videos. If you happen to see that video, you know I ranted a little bit about card size. Oh, look how smoothly that slides in. But it's still a little bit tall. The card is poking out the top. Interesting sizing disparity. If you saw my rant talking about sizes and whatnot, I should actually put this in upside down. I thought it'd be fun to give Deusilius a fun foil effect when these sleeves are tighter fit than most, which makes sense because Keyforge cards are actually a little bit small. So these sleeves fit Keyforge cards or Fantasy Flight cards in general better than most sleeves do, which is nice for these sleeves, but in general I'd say it's a bad thing for Fantasy Flight cards. But Now I can't even fit this inner sleeved card in there. So I'm going to have to give up on my foil Deusilius. It just doesn't go in. All right, Idlechain, who serves currents, is up first. So let's take a look at this opening hand. I only play one card going first. We have a 2/2/2. One of those is a phase shift. I think we're going to start with House Unfathomable. Unfathomable. I think I just keep using the wrong consonant there, but we're going to play Voice of Rakuzel. 5 power and 1 armor is nice. This is a rare, and it's using the tide mechanism right off the bat, although currently there is no tide. It says while the tide is high, each friendly creature gets +1 power and armor. While the tide is low, each enemy creature gets +1 power and armor. So if our opponent were to have the tide, that would benefit them, but playing Mass Mutation, they have no ability to have the tide until we initiate the tide with one of our own effects, and then they would be able to potentially steal it. But for now, we're just going to bring this nice 5 power, 1 armor creature out, and we can only play one card, so we'll end our turn. I haven't even checked the opening hand for the Transformative Mutant yet. Let's make sure we don't need to mulligan. At a glance, it seems fine. We got 3 Saurian cards. As long as they do something, that'll be fine. I think I'm actually going to start with Logos. And we're going to play Fission Bloom. This is an artifact that is named after me. Not really, but actually I do use the online name Fission Essence in a lot of places. So I'm going to think of it as being my own artifact here. And it says on Logos turns, basically I can double the bonus icons on my cards. For now, that's going to enter play Exhausted. And I'm also going to play Hide. So it seems like these two have Hide and Vellum have the ability to come together toward the mid or end of the game. So hopefully we can get that going, but for now I'm just going to play it. Our opponent could just attack it if they do House Unfathomable, but let's see if that's where they want to commit their turn. And then we will draw up to 6 to end our turn. Well, Unfathomable would be tempting to kill the Hide, but I think we want to do Logos as well. So I'm going to play Armadrone, 1 power and 3 armor, which has the ability when it fights to steal an amber. We'll play a Data Forge, which seems really powerful, but not right now. We can forge a key at +10 cost, reduced by 1 for each card in our hand. So if we had 10, 11, or 12 amber, we could forge a key, but instead we're just going to get 1 from that bonus icon. Put that by our Archon. When we have 6 of those, and we start our turn with 6 of them, we will spend them to forge a key, and on the 3rd key we win. In case you are new to Keyforge, discard a card. And if you're new to Keyforge, you should know that we can choose 1 house per turn and do as much as we want with that house and nothing else, except that my Logos card says I can play a non-Logos card this turn. So I'm going to play Phase Shift, and that's going to let me play Sink or Swim. Our opponent discards a card at random, or we exhaust a creature and each of its neighbors. I think we'll have them discard a card. Hopefully that messes them up. So I'll roll 1 to 6 and get a 1. So that'll discard this card, which is Saurian card, Cornican Octavia. Must be a fancy Roman title of some kind. Action, capture 2 amber, but that's gone. And that was our Logos turn, complete with 1 Unfathomable card. Creature entered play exhausted, but at the end of our turn, we will ready it and draw until we have 6 cards in our hand, readying us for a nice big something or other next turn. Now with 5 cards in our hand, the Transformative Mutant only has 3 Saurian cards left. Reap draw a card is nice if we want to do Logos. But we do have 3 Saurian cards. But a couple of these cards interact with our opponent's Amber, and they don't have very much. So I think I will get some use out of Hide. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Logos, and I will Reap with Hide. Reap is an action that any creature can do in Keyforge, unless otherwise noted. It means exhaust the creature and claim 1 amber. So we have that into our pool here. And this Reap ability says when we reap, well, it doesn't say when we reap, but that's basically what it means. When we reap with that creature, draw a card. If we had its friend, we would get 2 cards instead. So I'm going to draw 1, and actually is a Logos card. So that's going to add to what we can do this turn. But unfortunately, Dimension Door would let us capture amber, or rather steal amber directly when reaping, but we've already done all the reaping we're going to be able to do. But we can still play it because this capture bonus icon means we get to take this amber and put it right here. If this creature dies, they get their amber back. But for now, we're holding it hostage. And I'm going to use Fission Bloom action on this artifact, exhaust this, and next time we play a card this turn, resolve each of its bonus icons an additional time. And I'm going to play Eclectic Inquiry, which has a bonus icon of an amber. So I'm going to get 2 amber instead of 1 because of the Fission Bloom. And then the actual play effect is to archive the top 2 cards of our deck, which means we're going to put them over in this zone over here called the archive. I do get to look at them, and we see we got half of Deusilius and a discard Waking Nightmare. And at the start of any of our turns, we can choose to take all of the cards in our archive and add them to our hand, which could potentially make for a bigger turn at the risk of clogging up our hands because we can only use 1 house per turn. If we're adding multiple house cards to our hand, that could mix things up. But that is all of our Logos actions. So we'll end our turn. We got 3 amber. Not bad, plus a captured one. Got a couple of cards in our archive. So I'm feeling okay about that turn. Back over here, we're thinking we can kill Hyde and get that amber back, but our hand is full of Sanctum cards. We have 5 Sanctum cards. We probably want to play those rather than using Unfathomable or Logos. So let's go ahead and call Sanctum. And let's kick it off with Marshal Ewer, 4 power, 2 armor, and when you play or fight with him, we raise the tide, which is going to invoke this card I had hidden under here, under this Archon. Came with the deck. This is the Tide card. And it is now high tide on one side and low tide on the other. And that means Voice of Rakuzel's effect is now happening, which says while the tide is high, each friendly creature gains +1 power and +1 armor. So for our side, Idlechain, who serves currents, the tide is high. And for the Transformative Mutant, the tide is low. And the Transformative Mutant doesn't have any effects that care about the tide printed, but they do now care about the tide because they don't want us to have it, specifically for Voice of Rakuzel and or any other things that we're going to be doing. So Marshal Ewer we can put on the left or right side of our battle line. That is a locked in order in Keyforge, but at this point I don't think we care too much about it, so I'll just throw them down here. I'm going to put the tide over here. Hopefully you can still see that a little bit. That is right under or right above my little camera on the close-up card, but I don't want to have not enough room for all the creatures we'll probably be playing. And this is nice. We can play Badge Magus, 4 power, and it has deploy. So I just said you can't put anything in the middle of the battle line. You have to put it on the left or right. But deploy specifically means we can break that rule with her. And her fight ability is to ready and fight with each of her neighbors. So I was thinking that was a play effect, and I was a little bit excited that we'd be able to kill Hyde. I think I will put her here, though. Actually, let's put her right in between these two. We got a big beefy guy and a creature with a fight effect to steal amber. So that'll be nice for later. Play Bulwark, has Assault 2, and its neighbors have Assault 2. We'll put him over here to buff up the Armor Drone. Urian the Circumspect. When he reaps, we gain amber equal to his armor, which is a huge amber buff. Put that over here. This is a really nice big Sanctum turn with 5 cards. We're also going to play Shoulder Armor, which is an upgrade. We're going to attach that. And while the armored creature is on a flank, it gets 2 armor and 2 power, making it really big. So let's buff up Bulwark, and we gain amber from that bonus there. We'll put that into our pool of only 1 for now. That was all our Sanctum stuff, so we'll have to end our turn there and ready all our creatures and draw 5 cards to fill up the hand. But through all that, our Hyde did survive, and we have 3 amber. And at the end of the day, 6 amber makes a key, and 3 keys mean you win. Creatures don't do any of that. I mean, they do reap. But on top of how many creatures they have, we have to keep in mind that Voice of Rakuzel is giving all their creatures +1 power and armor as well, as long as they have the tide. Now, low tide does say that we can take 3 chains to take the high tide, but chains mean that we draw one fewer card at the end of our turn for 3 turns. That's what 3 chains means. We still just have the 3 Saurian cards. We could take our archive before we choose our house. It'd give us another discard. Waking Nightmare. Keys cost +1 amber for each disc creature in play during your opponent's next turn. So that's a nice card to time. And so is this half of Deusilius. So we want to time that for when we can use it. This Logos card we have isn't great. It makes each player lose half their amber. We have more. Hyde's Reap would let us draw a card. Maybe get another Logos, but it might just be time to get some creatures down with Saurian. Nothing we can really fight with Hyde because of all their armor, so we can't really pick off anything Everything is way too big. So even our Saurian creatures are going to be sadly tiny. I think I'm going to choose Saurian in part just to make room in my hand. So we're going to play Perfectus Ludo. Says each of our other creatures, when it dies, basically destroys amber on it instead of returning it to its owner, which would be great, except that our opponent can just kill this before they kill any of our other creatures. We're also going to play Citizen Shrix, which when we play it, we have to exalt it, which means we're going to add an amber to it, which again means when it dies, our opponent's going to get that amber. And we steal one. So the steal one is nice. So our opponent, again, is down to 0, and we're up to 4. So that's pretty good. And then we can play Spoils of Battle, which gives us an amber as well. So we're up to 5, which would be great if it were 6. 5 is still better than 4. A friendly creature captures an amber, but they don't have any for us to capture. And then each creature with amber on it captures 1 from its opponent. But again, there's nothing to capture, so we're just getting that bonus. And this event action goes to our discard pile. And that's it. Just playing a couple creatures our opponent can easily kill, but they might prefer to reap, so we'll see what happens on their side. And I gotta say, for this Idlechain kill, fighting definitely seems tempting because we get to claim 2 of that amber back. So we just have to fight some of our giant creatures. I think we only have 1 Sanctum card, but I think we gotta choose Sanctum just because we have 4 beefy fighters we have out. And on top of that, we have the ability to fight with these non-Sanctum creatures as well. So let's fight with Badge Magus first. She attacks for 4 with her fight. And let's send her, and she's actually 5 because of Voice of Rakazel. We're going to have her fight Citizen Shrix. So she's going to deal 5 to it. It'll deal 3 in retribution. So she's got 3 damage. Actually 2 because she has an armor as well. It's very strong. That's just 2 damage out of her 5 power. Because in this game, in Keyforge, your power is how much damage you deal, but also how much you can sustain. And armor is how much is prevented on a per turn basis. So this is going to die. We reclaim that amber. Although that was an exalt. Technically, this amber was never ours. They did steal from us. But anyway, her fight effect is that we ready and fight with each of her neighbors 1 at a time. So let's fight with Armadrone. Even though it's not a Sanctum card, her ability is specifically letting us use it. It fights for 2 because it has 2 power because of, again, the voice. It has 4 armor, 1 plus the 3 built in there. And it has Assault 2 because Bulwark is its neighbor. And Bulwark says its neighbors have Assault 2, which means it's going to deal 2 damage immediately to Hide, which is what we're attacking. And then they deal damage to each other. So 2 more power will finish off Hide. Hide will deal 4, but Armadrone has 4 armor. So Hide is dead. It does have a destroyed effect, but it doesn't do anything. And the fight effect on Armadrone says we steal an amber, so we can take that one back. And then the Voice of Razikel can also fight from Badge Magus's effect, and we'll fight here. 6 power kills 5, and 5 power is blocked. Actually, this is as each friendly creature. I don't know if friendly, maybe friendly means not itself. Or is it friendly to itself? I don't know. I'm going to assume the worst. Say that it's not friendly to itself. I mean, it is probably friendly to itself in real life, but depends on us. That's a self-esteem issue, and we won't get into that. No, you know what? I think it has good self-esteem. We're going to say it's friendly to itself. So that's total of 2 armor. So it takes 3 and kills this. And then, since we chose Sanctum, we can still use our Sanctum creatures, and we can reap with them. So 1, 2, 3 amber, plus the reap effect here says we gain amber equal to his armor, which is actually 2, because again of Voice of Razikel, so we get 4 more amber, putting us up to 7, and our opponent is way behind. We still have a Sanctum card we can play. It's just an action, so we're going to claim an amber for the bonus icon, putting us up to 8. We can move one of our creatures in our battle line and have it capture an amber, so I guess we may as well do that. So sure, I'm going to move Marshall Ewer over all the way to the other side next to Bulwark so that it has Assault 2. And then it will capture 1 of their amber. And that was a big turn. We ready everything and just draw 1 card to fill up our hand and pass. Really going to need some good stuff to recover. They're going to forge a key because they have at least 6 amber, and as their turn starts, they will forge it. Unless we can steal some, which we can. So what was that discard that we archived? Waking Nightmare says keys cost +1 amber for each disc creature in play during your opponent's next turn. How many disc creatures can we play? That would be 2. They do have 8 amber. We just make them spend it. Oh no, we only have one creature, so that would just be 7. We can play Effervescent Principle and make them lose 4 amber, but our only other logos card is an upgrade and we have nothing to put it on. So that doesn't sound great. I don't know if this is good, but I guess we're going out on a limb here. I'm going to say grab the archive and we're going to name House Dis. We will go ahead and play this Relentless Creeper, just a 2-power creature. And when we choose Dis, it comes back from our discard pile to our hand. For now, it's not going to do much. We'll play the Waking Nightmare that I spoke of. So we're going to get 1 amber from the bonus icon. And then our opponent's key is going to cost +1 amber. So 7 instead of 6. So at least we're making them spend that. And then we'll play our only other discard, which is Grim Reminder. We choose a house and archive each creature of that house from our discard pile. Unfortunately, we're also going to gain a chain, but I'm going to choose Saurian, which means we're going to grab 1, 2, 3 creatures, and these are going to go to our archive. So next time we choose Saurian, we can have a big turn playing a bunch of cards, although this one doesn't do anything by itself. So hopefully we get, although we have 5 cards in our hand, we only have 1 open slot to draw. We also get a chain, which means we're going to be using this guy. This is a chain tracker, and I'm going to mark that I have 1 chain, which means that for 1 turn, I draw 1 fewer card, and then the chain will be gone. So actually, we're not drawing any cards this turn, and that's just going to clear out the chain because we're ending our turn now. All right, started the turn of Idlechain, who serves currents. First thing is we spend the cost of a key, which is currently 7, and forge a key. And then we can see what we want to do. We do have 4 logos cards, 2 unfathomable. We could still choose Sanctum, we just wouldn't be able to play any cards. We'd be able to use all these though. Actually, we wouldn't, because this would have to fight to trigger its ability, and then its adjacent creatures would be able to fight, but by then we would have already killed the only thing to fight against. We could still reap 4 times with our 4 Sanctum creatures, but that wouldn't even put us up to 6. So let's go ahead and play some stuff. And we got some good logos going on, actually annoyingly good. So I'm going to choose House Logos, and we're going to open up with an information exchange. Just steal 1 amber. If your opponent stole amber from you on their turn, steal 2 instead. You know what? They did steal amber from us. Oh no, I guess they didn't. I don't know. They made our key cost more. They didn't steal anything. Maybe they're thinking about it. So we're just going to steal 1. So slightly less annoying. Still annoying considering we are also already ahead. Also going to fight with Armadrone. Has hazardous 2, so it's going to fight, kill the creeper. I wonder, does that mean the fight doesn't happen? It's kind of weird because the hazardous 2 killed the creature before the fight actually triggered, and this, we only get this if the fight occurs. So I don't know the correct ruling, but I'm going to say that the fight occurs even though the thing got killed already, and I'm going to steal an amber from that. We're going to play Mecha Buoy. We get an amber for playing it. I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 amber right now because we're playing 2 Mecha Buoys. These are artifacts that say at the start of our turn, or each player's turn, if the tide is high for that player, they gain an amber. So unless our opponent steals the tide, we're going to get 2 amber. So now they have a very strong incentive to take some chains. And then we'll play Infomorph, which has a very interesting ability called Enhance for 2 draw card bonus icons. Those icons have already been added into our deck because Keyforge is a unique deck game. No 2 decks are alike, and they are procedurally generated. So those 2 icons randomly got inserted onto cards in our deck already. I don't think we've seen any of them yet. So that doesn't do anything now. It just does things during deck generation, but it's just going to be a 4-power creature. We'll put it over here and end our turn and draw 4 cards to fill our hand. Now we have pressure on our opponent in a variety of ways. We're pretty close to having enough amber for a second key. We have a huge battle line of big beefy creatures. We have the tide, and we have 2 Mecha Buoys to punish our opponent for not taking chains. So what can we do? What can I even do? All I can do is play a bunch of Saurian creatures, I guess. We have Deus Cilia, so we can't even use. Maybe we save the Effervescent Principle for next turn. So yeah, so I'm going to grab my archive. That's going to give us 3 more Saurian creatures. Another thing you can do with a card other than play it is just discard it. I think we're just going to have to discard this card. We need the room in our hand. We can't discard cards that aren't Saurian, but because we chose Saurian, we can choose to discard a Saurian card. So we are going to be able to do some stuff. We'll play Perfectus Ludo. We played that earlier. It makes it so that if any of our creatures with amber on it dies, the amber goes back to the bin instead of to the intended owner. We're going to play 2 of that. And we're also going to play Citizen Shrix, which we saw before as well. Play or reap, exalt it, and steal 1. So we will exalt it and steal 1. And then I'm going to play Defense Initiative, which is an action that says we ward a creature. We may exalt it. And if we do exalt or ward its neighbors. So we're going to exalt Perfectus Ludo here in the middle and ward it. And because we exalted it, we also ward its neighbors. And that will protect all 3 of these creatures from the first time they would suffer ill effects. Finally, we have Cornican Octavia, again, the 5-power creature with the action to capture 2 amber. And that will make these 3 hard to kill at the very least. We will also need to steal the tide. So I'm going to take this, flip it around, and that is at the cost of 3 chains. So I'm going to put that out on 3. And now as we end our turn, instead of drawing up to 6, we will only draw up to 5. So we get 3 more cards and we lose 1 chain. And of course we drew the other half of Deusilius. Perfect timing. All right, so our buoys do not give us any amber because our opponent took the tide, but we forced them to take chains for that. We don't get a key because we only have 4 amber. So now what? 3 more Sanctum cards. Ooh, that makes Sanctum tempting. But are we big enough to fight through 3 wards? And even though our creatures are bigger, 5 is pretty big. Actually, Assault 2 is pretty good for breaking through. Whew, yeah, we're going to be doing Sanctum. This is going to be rough. Where do we even start? So I just did a bunch of stuff, forgetting that we are on low tide here. And that doesn't just mean that our creatures aren't buffed. It actually means that our opponent's creatures are buffed by the voice. So I was going to plan on using Marshal Ewer's fight effect to claim the tide. But I'm not sure I can do that without him dying. Oh, and this should be worded again as well. Sorry if I made a mistake. I just had to undo a whole bunch of stuff. Hopefully I got it correct. So I'd lined up a sequence where I thought I could trigger his fight effect without him dying, but I'm not sure that's the case. I have another Bulwark, so he's going to have Assault 2 to help him out. But 2 damage would just get blocked by the 2 armor, because this has 2 armor now because of the voice of Razikel. Then it would deal 4 only, and it would not kill it. It would take 6 in return and die and not be able to raise our tide. So I think we actually have to take the chains to raise the tide. So I probably could have kept most of what I did just now because, except for that I might do things in a slightly different order. So I'm going to have to do that. Let's take 3 chains, raise the tide, and now we have our Voice of Razikel again. And instead of turning cards, I'm running out of room, so I'm just going to pull them back to show that they're exhausted. And this guy we just played, so I'm pulling him back. This is technically up here, it's just its attachment upgrade is poking its head out. So I think I'd like to kill this first. So let's use this Bulwark. It's going to attack with Assault 2. It's going to pop the ward, and then they can fight normally. It's going to do 5 against 5 with 2 armor, so it will take 3. Oh, nope, the shoulder armor gives it plus 2 more armor, so it takes only 1 damage, and it's going to deal 4, 5, 6, 7 in return to kill that. Slide that in, kill this one next, because if we get rid of those, then we actually get our amber back. Move our chain tracker over here. Let's do Marshal Ewer against Perfectus Ludo number 2. So again, it got Assault. Oh, it actually has Assault 4, but I don't know if those happen separately, but I guess it doesn't matter necessarily. It's going to pop the ward, and then 4, 5 damage will kill it, or 7, depending on how that works, and then 5 gets blocked by 2, 3 armor. It takes 2, and this just applies to each other friendly creature, not itself. So we do get this armor, or this amber rather. And now we get to raise the tide, but it's already raised, so we took our chains. Be happy with it. Then let's have Badge Magus attack here. That's going to be 4. Oh no, she's got a ward. So that's just going to pop the ward, and she's going to take 3 in return, but she has 1 armor, so she'll take 2. Fortunately for her, she has 5 power instead of 4, so she doesn't die. Then her fight effect lets us fight with these 2 one at a time. I think I'll have Voice of Razikel fight Citizen Shrix. So it's going to be 6 to kill that, and then 3 minus 2 armor is 1 left over. And we get this Amber, and then this Armadrone will fight Citizen Octavia, whatever her title is, dealing 2 damage, but she has 1 armor. So it takes 1, and then 5 back, blocked by 3. 4 armor is 1 damage. But I forgot about Assault 2, so that's 2 more damage to Octavia. And then we get to steal 1 with Armadrone's ability. Fight effect. Whew! We still have 1 more Sanctum creature and 2 cards we want to play. So we'll go ahead and reap with Urian the Circumspect for 1 amber, plus it says gain amber equal to its armor, which is 2. So we gain a total of 3. Setting up for not only our 2nd key, but our 3rd. Cleansing Wave says heal 1 damage from every creature and gain an amber for each one. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 amber that we gain. So I have heard the lesson not to get this much amber. It is a liability to have this much amber, but I don't live by those rules. I live by my own rules, where more amber is always better, but we might see why that doesn't always pan out. And then we'll play the Seraphic Armor. We get 1 amber bonus icon. The attached creature gets +1 armor. And I thought about putting it on Urian for an extra reap, but I'm actually going to put it on Voice of Razikel because it also fully heals the creature, and we can keep our big buffing guy around and put that on him here. That will end our turn. We just draw 2 cards because of our chains and lose 1 chain. I think over here we're gonna have to choose House Logos. I still don't have very much exciting stuff going on, but yeah, we're gonna choose Logos. So we're gonna play Effervescent Principle. Each player loses half their amber, so we'll lose 1, and our opponent will lose 8. So that's why you're not supposed to hoard it, but they still have 9 left, which seems like plenty. We use our Fission Bloom and play Discombobulator, which gives us an amber bonus that is doubled. So we're up to 3. Still working, trudging away on that first key. And the attached creature says our amber can't be stolen, so that's great. But we can't use Octavia because she's Saurian, and that's all we can do. So we're going to draw 2 cards because of our chains. And now we just have 1 chain left. You know what? I think we have to take 3 more chains, go up to 4. Before ending our turn to make sure they don't get the tide because of those 2 buoys. So as we start with our turn, we'll spend 6 amber and forge our 2nd key. Just 3 more to go to check for game. Do we do Sanctum again? This time we've got 4 unfathomable cards, only 1 unfathomable creature. And it's a little boring, but I think we are just going to do Sanctum again. We can attack with Martial Ewer. It has double Assault 2, Assault 4 against Octavia. 1 it gets blocked by her armor, 3 more goes through, and that actually kills her. And again, I'm assuming we still get our fight effect to raise the tide, putting our opponent under more pressure to steal it back from us, but it might not even matter. We'll just reap 1, 2, 3, 4 times, +2 bonus amber, means we just gain 6 more, and we have 9 amber. And technically we were supposed to say check to indicate to our opponent we are threatening another key. We draw no cards because we have 5 and we have chains. So we're just going to lose 1 chain. So this is the last chance for the Transformative Mutant to make a comeback, but I don't think it's going to happen. We don't even have a single creature. It's all useless. Soul Keeper is an upgrade that when the attached creature is destroyed, it kills something. We can destroy one of our creatures and an opponent's creature. Monument of Ludo is an artifact that does something, but not this turn. Boils of Battle would let us capture some amber, but not enough, and we don't even have a creature to capture it. And of course, we have half of Deusilius, the other half of which is in the discard pile, sadly. I wonder if that would even save us. Capture all your opponent's amber. That would certainly help. And deal 5 damage to an enemy creature. Might not even be enough. It probably just gets swarmed and taken out by our opponent's creatures. So that is the game. Pass the turn back, and Idlechain, who serves currents, will forge their 3rd key. Just like that. It's the power of the tide. This turn 1 Voice of Razikel certainly worked out. Hey, Future Ender here. I just wanted to jump in real quick and say that after that recording, I went ahead and of course claimed my Keyforge decks in the Keyforge app. And I also loaded them up onto the Decks of Keyforge website, which is a website that attempts to rate the power level of Keyforge decks. It's a third-party thing, it's not official, but I was very interested to see the result, which is that the Transformative Mutant, the deck that got completely destroyed, is rated a 74 SAS score, SAS, I don't know what that means, which puts it in like the 94th percentile of decks, whereas the deck that completely destroyed it, Idlechain, who serves currents, is a 62 SAS, which is notably lower at like 42 percentile, below half of Keyforge decks. So it's super interesting to see that disparity. My plan is to have the winning decks show up again on the channel, but it definitely makes me even more interested to revisit the Transformative Mutant and see what it has in store, especially with the Asilius. So maybe one day we'll see that one come back, but it's great to see how a weak deck can overcome a stronger one. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more Keyforge. Maybe I'll do a match against this winner and the previous video's winner, or open up some new decks. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Subscribe so we can get more subscribers, and bye.